Welcome to this session. Certified legal nurse consultants reveal how they overcame the fear of leaving their RN job. In this session, I've invited two certified legal nurse consultants, Dorene Goldstein and Michelle Neal. And I'll start with you, Dorene. Just quickly introduce yourself to everyone. What were your fears when you first started?
All right, that's always a good one. Hi, everyone. I'm Dorene Goldstein. I have been a certified legal nurse consultant since 2001. It's been a great ride. I do both plaintiff and defense for personal injury, medical malpractice, and product liability. My biggest fears starting out, believe it or not, was that I would be too successful and be too busy. That in the opposite end of the spectrum, that I would fail and not be able to do this. So I had both ends.
Yeah, that's really interesting to be afraid of both succeeding and failing all at the same time. Michelle, tell us a little bit about you and then what some of your fears were.
Hi, everybody. My name's Michelle. I have been a consultant since 2014. I primarily work on medical malpractice, personal injury, and long-term care cases. When I first was looking into the program and getting started, my biggest fear was that it wouldn't work out, kind of the opposite of one of Doreen's. I was just afraid I, would go through this and it was such a big change and I wasn't sure what to expect. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking to me to kind of just put it all out there and get started.
Thanks, Michelle. And it's kind of interesting because in talking to many RNs, some have more of a fear of rejection than failure. It's almost like they're more okay with failing than with being rejected or having an attorney say no to them. I know when I first started, one of the fears that I had was I recognized that in order to be successful, especially because when I started in '82, RNs weren't really owning businesses back then, that I was going to have to be a little bit different. And if you think about it, most of us, especially in today's world, with the Instagram world of everybody wanting to be very similar and looking alike, it's kind of challenging to take a path that doesn't match everybody else's. All of you out there, you may have your own different kinds of fears, but I think what you're going to learn if you talk to any certified legal nurse consultant is every one of us have had fears of some sort. And it might not be identical to yours, but everyone's got them. Dorene, how did you overcome that fear of both overly succeeding and possibly failing?
I'll start with the first one, overly succeeding. It's this business, you can take it and grow it as much as you want. You could work 80 hours a week or you could work 20 hours a week. So for me, that was something that I knew I had control over. So that helped with the being too busy part of it and not busy enough. I played a game with myself, Vicki, in the beginning as far as marketing. And I would try to get, because you're going to get no's. Like anybody who thinks people are not going to say no to you, of course they are. It's the nature of the business. So I would play a game with myself and when I made phone calls following up from letters that I sent, I would say, okay, today I want to get 5 no's. So at some point you're getting a yes, and then it just turned it around and I thought, wow, okay, this really isn't that difficult.
That's really creative. It's almost like acknowledging the fear and saying, okay, let me have it. Let me have all the bad things that can happen to me. Today, a no isn't going to be a fun thing. It might be a bad thing, and I'm going to take it on, bring it on. That's an excellent strategy. How about being overly successful?
Overly successful, again, we have control over our lives with this. I don't have 10 reports due on the same day. So I can kind of stagger it myself. And, I structure my business a little bit different than some other CLNCs. And I work from about 10 in the morning till about 2 in the afternoon, take a break. When my kids were younger, I would, travel with them, and it just is, you can kind of create your own success here. And I don't think overly successful is necessarily a bad thing. Subcontracting also works, and I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yes. Michelle, how about you? How did you overcome your fears?
For me, my motto was to not make any excuses about anything. I wanted to get into this field. This was a passion that I had, and I really wanted to find success in it. I knew that there was going to be, roadblocks along the way and failures along the way. I knew I had to overcome those failures in order to succeed. So for me, it was just having a positive attitude about it, accepting the fact that I am going to fail with some things, and just it's about how you overcome those failures to continue on.
And I think understanding your journey is really important with the context that you started your business with 2-year-old twins. You said no excuses. That could have been your big excuse, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everybody has stuff going on. Everybody's busy. We all could make excuses about anything, but if you really want to achieve something, you have to overcome that, and you have to put in the drive and ambition to make it happen. And then you will find success that way.
I've heard most certified legal nurse consultants express that, at least in the beginning, they were somewhat afraid of attorneys. And I know one of the things that really helped me was kind of remembering who I was. Like, I was a registered nurse. I saved lives. If I could save a life, I could talk to an attorney. If I could save a life, I could analyze a medical record. So I think really acknowledging who you are is really important in helping to overcome those fears, because absolutely the lawyers, they know the law, and you're never going to know the law the way that they do, but that's not why they're hiring you. They're hiring you because you save lives. And that's something to always remember when you walk into that attorney's office. What about the dream squashers and, those naysayers? And those could be friends or family members. Dorene, did you experience any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. Not so much family, but a lot of friends, colleagues at work. So to me, it was, I'm going to prove them wrong. If somebody tells me I can't do something, it's kind of the competitive nature of me that I'm going to go 150% and really succeed. People don't do this for various reasons. And I know I had a reason for myself to want to become a certified legal nurse consultant. So I did it for me, and I did it for my family. And, a few years after I was practicing as a CLNC full-time, my middle daughter told me that I was so much happier. She said, "You're so happy. You must love what you're doing." And I didn't realize that my personality changed, but obviously it did.
I heard you say that your family was very supportive. And I think maybe one of the important messages there is pay attention to the people who are supporting you. Don't pay attention to the people who are not. And I know you're very strong in that department, Dorene, in terms of surrounding yourself with your family and the people who do believe in you. How about you, Michelle?
I agree 100% with what both of you have said. I also had a couple people, try to be the dream squashers. And most of them, like Dorene, were colleagues or people that I worked with in the hospital. I found that the same thing, it kind of gave me more drive to prove them wrong that I could do it. So I kind of have the same mentality as Dorene. And then I also did, as you said, Vicki, is I just surrounded myself with family and friends that were supportive. If you surround yourself with the people that are going to help bring you up, that'll help motivate you more. So anybody that's trying to bring you down or telling you can't do it, maybe push away from that as you're growing and building your business, and stand up to them and tell them how you can.
And don't be your own dream squasher. I've been around RNs now for 40 plus years. And one of the things that I've noticed is that some RNs, they're their own dream squasher. They don't need anybody else to do that job for them. And so, especially we're living in this pandemic right now, and it's really easy for us to internally squash our own dreams, right? And to even kind of wonder, why are we even having dreams at this moment in time? But I think it's even more important right now to not be your own dream squasher. Dorene, do you feel more secure, less secure, equally secure owning your own business? And especially that question applies more in the beginning, right? And then you can also tell me how you feel now in contrast if it's different.
Sure. Yeah, I feel more secure. I hear a lot of new CLNCs say that, oh my gosh, I'm not a business person. I don't know what to do. The program teaches you how to be your own business owner. So in the beginning, I did most of it myself, as far as the bookkeeping and how am I going to do this, like a lot of questioning. But then I took your advice, Vicki, and hired people that knew what to do. And I've had a bookkeeper since I think a year out, and it's not a lot of money for me to pay the bookkeeper, but for me, it's peace of mind. So now I definitely feel more secure. The first year, I remember my husband asking me a question because he's a business owner. What about your books? And I was like, what books? I don't know I don't have any books. So now I definitely have learned along the way, but it's definitely something that has been great. I love owning my own business.
It's funny because one registered nurse that I know, she downsized herself from 2 jobs as an administrator. And that's got to be painful, right? When you're actually downsizing yourself in an administrative job. The beauty of owning your own business is you're not going to be the first one to go if anything has to get downsized. Michelle, more secure, less secure, the same?
So I think in the beginning, you're a little more apprehensive about, is there security in it? Is it okay? Is it time to leave my RN job at the hospital? But as you grow, definitely more secure. And in ways beyond financially, I feel like I love the autonomy of having my own business, picking my own vacation time, having availability for my family. So I think it goes beyond that financial responsibility and financial security to security in all other aspects of life. I mean, I get to do what I want basically at the time that I want, as long as I turn in cases at the appropriate deadline. And there's just more freedom and flexibility to my life now.
That's a fantastic comment. And again, especially we're living in times where people are really having this acute awareness of what is the quality of my life and how do I ensure that I have not just money in the bank, but time with my family, friends, doing the things that I love. So thanks for bringing that up. That's so important. Dorene, did the CLNC certification program help at all in some of these early fears that you had?
Absolutely. I took advantage of the mentoring. I was one of those people who would send a mentor request in. Why try to figure it out myself when I knew that there were other individuals out there that could support and help me and have that same outlook that I had. So yes, absolutely.
Michelle?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if I wouldn't have taken the program, I don't feel like I would have been successful in this career. It provides the foundation that you need in order to know how to get started, what to do, how to review, what the attorneys are looking for. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I think without the program, I don't think I'd be where I am today.
We all have fears. I think that's obvious to every one of us. Some of us have more vivid imaginations than others, so we can kind of conjure fear in a more profound way. I've certainly engaged with RNs over the years who have those very vivid imaginations. But I also believe that there are ways to desensitize ourselves to fear. And I'll give you one example, and then I'll invite Dorene and Michelle to add on. One example that I've always taught the new certified legal nurse consultants is to do something where it's okay to fail. In other words, if we fail and it's okay, then suddenly failure just doesn't have the same power over us if we're okay with it, right? And so if you ever think about people who are very extreme, let's say extreme in a sport, they probably have failed a gazillion times, but they're not afraid to fail. And that's how they got to be such an expert in their extreme sport. And I think it's true in business as well. So I always tell people, don't go out and market to that attorney that you absolutely want to do business with. Go out and market to attorneys in the beginning that if they say no to you, hey, it's perfectly okay. Example, my interest was medical malpractice attorneys. So if your interest is medical malpractice attorneys, well, maybe if workers' comp lawyers are of little interest to you, those are the attorneys you market to first. So you kind of get comfortable with the interview process, become okay with being told no. And as Dorene said earlier, if a no ends up being a yes, all the better. Dorene, any ways you have desensitized yourself over the years?
Yes, owning it, acknowledging what I was afraid of. And one of the biggest things, and I mean, I spoke at your seminars for, I think, 10 years. So one of my biggest fears when I first started was speaking to attorneys and speaking in public. So I took that as a challenge. And I offered to present at an attorney conference like a year or two after. And it was very scary. Was I shaking? Absolutely. But I spoke on something that I knew, which was the nursing part of it. And it's just like teaching patients. If you think about standing up there talking to an attorney, it's the same as what we do with our patients. And they don't know the medicine, like Vicki said, they know the law. So own what you're afraid of, and then don't be afraid to take that jump. And what's the worst that can happen? You stumble, they're not really going to know if you say something wrong.
I just love this about you. This is exactly why you're successful. You had the fear of speaking, so you went out and spoke. Good for you, right? And you could have had a successful business without doing that, but you went for it anyway. How about you, Michelle?
Yeah, so I agree with Dorene to the sense of learning from your failures, I think was big for me. Like you said, if you recognize that you failed at something, go out and prove yourself wrong the next time and figure out how to change maybe what you made a mistake on and improve that. Also, to try to help your fears, again, surrounding yourself with people that will help support you. And sometimes you just have to fake a little bit of confidence. I think that even when I started, when I would market to attorneys or network with different people, I was not fully confident. I mean, even to this day, there's things I'm definitely not confident about. But if you go in with a confident attitude, even if you're not, the attorneys pick up on that and they like that. And I think that I have learned over time that you can go in with as much confidence as you can possibly have, but then fake a little more of it and then hopefully market that way and see if it works out for you.
Just to add on to that, because that's such great advice, recognizing that most fears are not real. Some fears are, but most aren't, especially when it comes to starting a business. Dorene, how scary are attorneys really?
Yeah, they're not scary. They're definitely not scary. I have a local attorney that I do quite a bit of work with, and he tells me he needs me for my brains. So it makes me feel really great. No, they're people. I'm sure all of us have taken care of attorneys in the hospital. They put their pants on the same way we do. They do everything the same way we do, and they need our knowledge. They don't know the nursing part of it. So that's where we step in. Don't think like, oh my gosh, I don't know the law. You'll be prepared through the program to know what you need to know, but the nursing part of it is where they like us. So they're not afraid. And some of my best friends are attorneys to this day still.
Michelle?
I always say, if you can be an RN and work with doctors, there is no difference working with attorneys. I mean, you're going to have some that are super friendly, easygoing, some that are a little more tough. Everybody's different. You just learn to accommodate with each different personality. But as far as them being intimidating, I mean, honestly, I think I was more afraid stepping into my first day as an RN than this career. So I don't think that should be something that should ever hold you back.
And that might be because, again, you had a little more maturity behind you. You already had expertise. You recognize that expertise that you were bringing to the table. One thing that definitely helped me the very first time I ever talked to an attorney was visualizing that attorney with the hospital gown on and his backside showing, because as Dorene said, they're no different than us. But for some reason, visualizing that attorney as a patient just really helped me feel comfortable, because I will confess that that first attorney I ever talked to, I was quite nervous. And I just wanted to get out of the office without completely embarrassing myself. But again, kind of remembering who we are, registered nurses, we save lives. It just helps so much. So Dorene, what would you say to an RN who has said, yeah, I've heard everything you said, but I still have these fears and I know they're getting in my way? Anything else you want to say?
Why wait? You know, life is short. And I think we all have learned that in the past 2 years. You know, it's don't let fear stop you. Overcome it. You have the support and guidance through the Institute, and go for it. You're a nurse. You can do it.
We're nurses, we can do anything.
Anything.
Michelle?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's so many people I hear. I mean, even me, I had thought about the program a couple years before actually going through and doing it. And I think just do it. Don't delay anymore. I mean, even to this day, sometimes I'm still shocked that this is what I'm doing and it doesn't really seem real, because it's almost like it's too good to be true, but I'm living it. So I know it's real. So I just think, take this step, and it's not going to hurt anything. It could make the difference of a wonderful career for you.
Thank you, Dorene and Michelle, for sharing your fears, and also some great advice for any RN who's interested in becoming certified, but is letting that fear get in their way. If you have questions, please feel free to contact the Institute. They're always happy to talk to you. And you can also go to legalnurse.com. There's a lot of information there about legal nurse consulting as well.